now has a Eurobond issue of over $500 million maturing January 2021, making it necessary to choose between either redeeming or refinancing the debt. Whichever decision made has to have deep implications for the country's debt structure. Now, Nigeria's ballooning debt profile is still a major source of worry and for the economy and its fiscal stability. So the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic too has also worsened Nigeria's rising debt profile. A recent report released by an international rating agency, Fitch Ratings, also states that although Nigeria's economic outlook has been upgraded to stable, its new investment grade of B is not an investment grade. A rising debt profile with no clear viable outlook regarding revenue is of major concern. A breakdown of Nigeria's budget also reveals that its planned fiscal deficit for the 2021 fiscal year was also 5.2 trillion naira approximately, which is about 3.64% of the nation's GDP, which is above 3% threshold set by the Federal Fiscal Responsibility Act. And now to discuss the current state of Nigeria's debt profile and exploring sustainable revenue-generating strategies to reduce borrowings, I have with me Wole Ogundare, the managing partner of Kathina Advisory. Good to have you on the Breakfast Show today.
Thank you very much.
Now, at this point in time, given that Nigeria's economy is sliding into a recession, technically second quarterly contraction this year, and looking at the size of our fiscal budget for the year 2020 and having to fund 2021, borrowing is inevitable. But looking at the pattern we've seen over the years within our capital and recurrent expenditure and how we have set our borrowing plans, even just reports from last week, $1.2 billion from a third world country like Brazil, we're expecting to get a loan from. Correct. How do we now manage the borrowings to ensure that we are channeling it to the right direction and also having a repayment plan through, let's say, taxation?
Thanks a lot, David. One of the things I've realized is a lot of Nigerians need to understand what is going on. So a lot of what I'll talk about will be in a layman's language, as it were. Between 2015 and 2020, over the last, say, 5 years, Nigeria has spent about 34.8 trillion naira. Trillion naira. Now, every country spends. It is how they've spent it that is the problem. 73% of that amount has been spent on what you call recurrent expenditure. So in layman's language, these are salaries, consumption, nothing to develop a country. 19% has been spent on infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is where we need to spend to move this country forward. And then the rest of it is about 7% to pay loans. Now, I was listening to the data you were sharing earlier on, and one of the things which you didn't mention was that the first half of this year, you know, when you borrow loans, you must pay.
Pay back.
The first half of this year, between January and June, we've actually paid back about 1.2 trillion naira. Now, 2020's budget is somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 trillion, which means we've repaid loans in the first half of the year amounting to about 10% of our national budget. That is alarming. Now, you mentioned something else, that we're getting more loans, which means we have to find a way to pay these loans. So let me even go to it, you know, this thing they call the bird's eye view. Everybody borrows, every country borrows. It's not a problem. The problem is the application of those loans. Now, over time, and I like to say this has built up over decades. So it's not something that's just happened overnight. Let me go back to 2013. There's a document that was prepared in 2013 called the Nigeria Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan. It's the master plan to grow infrastructure in Nigeria.
The blueprint. The
blueprint. I was involved in preparing that document. What we did was we went around the Federation. We went to all the state Ministry of Planning. You know, we got feedback across the Federation. It was very detailed work. Now, this looked across the vital registration and statistics, all the areas of infrastructure. It looked at housing. It looked at social infrastructure, water, mining, agriculture, ICT. It looked at energy and transport. Now, that document said that to start gaining some traction as a nation across our infrastructure, and I'll tell you why this is so important, we need to first focus on transport and energy.
Mr. Wole Ogundare, please just hold your thought there. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, the conversation will continue. Don't go anywhere.
My neighbor Casey and I are like 5 and 6. We gel perfectly. When it comes to round leather game, we support the same club. Even our taste in music, totally in sync. We're just really alike, even in the office. But there's one area where we differ, and that is in our choice of peak milk. Casey loves his peak filled milk because it is low in cholesterol. I, on the other hand, I love my peak full cream milk because it is rich and creamy. So that's why when we take our favorite milk, peak milk, we choose both. So, choose your peak today.
Peak. Reach for your peak. In a country filled with different and unique kinds of people, there's no such thing as one size fits all for everything, especially sleep. That's why there's a Muka specially made for you. The Pepperdem Gang, the Mamas, the Daddies, the Papas, the Zaddies, the Fit Fam, and the I cannot come and go and kill myself. Whoever you are, there's a Muka for you. Visit www.muka.com.
Buy 11, get 1 free. Winning energy for their lunchbox. Buy 11, get 1 free. Winning energy for their lunchbox.
Glad to have you back. We're still talking business on TVC Breakfast today, and I have with me Wole Ogundare, the managing partner of Ketana Advisory, and we're still looking at the current state of Nigeria's debt profile and also sustainable strategies in terms of revenue generation. Now, in continuing our discussion, we've had cautions from the International Monetary Fund. We've had the World Bank also raise certain cautions. Initially, we had the response to the body language from the Central Bank of Nigeria saying that our debt levels were still within the range of an okay level, but now we've had several cautions where the CBN is saying we have to be very careful at this point in time with the threshold we're reaching. Now, new borrowings, both domestic and foreign, so far have already hit 4.28 trillion naira, and debt service also about 2.9 trillion naira. Looking at our budget size as well, the implementation levels as well, we largely have a problem. How do we now tend to regain investors' confidence, looking at all of the happenings we've had so far in terms of fiscal and monetary stimulus? They're not necessarily present. Even for the local economy, it's still a challenge despite all of the attempts to have a stronger recovery away from the recession.
Yes, so Nigeria has major issues, but you see, if you're able to soar very high and look at it from above, it's not that major. There's nothing going on in Nigeria today that hasn't gone on in a lot of other climes. So if I ask everybody in this room, if I ask all governors, if I put all governors in a room and I tell them that, what is Nigeria about? They will all give me different answers. I'll tell you where I'm going with this. If you look at countries like Germany, Germany is known for efficiency. If you look at Dubai, Dubai is an investment destination and a tourism country, isn't it? Nigeria, who are we? What are we? What do we stand for? What's our purpose as a country? Now, why that is so important is that we're currently pulled apart along ethnic divides, religious divides, political divides.
Well, if I may button here, just for
Yes.
the lack of time,
Yes.
what should be the plan out of all of this doldrum we find ourselves
So
in
that's where I'm going. The moment we're able to say, this is who we are as a country, it's the first step. I'm very big about country brands. Nigeria has no brand. The moment we're able to say, this is our brand as a country, and you use that brand to drive everything else across your legislature, executive, and all of that, that brand becomes the go-to mechanism for us as a country. Today, the challenge is we're pulled apart. Everybody, people come today and say, oh, fund this part, oh, fund this part, oh, fund this part. It doesn't work.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution on the breakfast show today.
Thank you very much.
Wole Ogundare, hopefully we have a second part to this conversation because
Absolutely.
these are pertinent issues that we just have to address. And at the end of the day, looking at the structure of the economy, we cannot but take action.
Thank you
very
very
much
much.
once again.
Thanks.
Well, that's it on business news. For now, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we have sports news with me and don't go anywhere.